Absolutely. It's such an honor to talk to you first and foremost. I am so excited that we get to discuss this gorgeous adaptation of Frankenstein, as well as your wonderful, wonderful work in the film as well. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
So I imagine Guillermo del Toro's enthusiasm for this material must have been just so joyous to be around and easy to trust the process. What does it mean for you to be part of bringing Guillermo's passion project to life?
It's a huge honor. It's a huge honor. This is a story that's been a part of Guillermo's life since he was about 10 years old. And he was so joyful during the making of this movie. I'll never forget, there's just this childlike smile that he always had on his face. Like a little boy, just having the time of his life making this with his friends and his collaborators. And yeah, it means so much to me. You know, he is a master at what he does, and it's very special.
Yeah. And when the script came your way for this, did you read it completely fresh, or did you have conversations with Guillermo beforehand about what your role and what the journey overall would be like?
Well, I met him. He called me first, and I was walking down the street, and he gave me a call, and he said that he was making Frankenstein and would I like to meet for breakfast. So then we met the following week, and I ordered an omelette, and he shared with me the rough outline of the script, and he said, "Do you want to be in it?" I said, "Yeah, I want to be in it. I'll be in it." He said, "Great. Well, do you want to play Claire too?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll play Claire." And like, "Do you want to play?" At that time, it was 3 characters. I was like, "Okay, I can do that." And then the script filled out. But at the time when we met, it was just a rough outline of the script. And maybe like a month or so later, he sent me the first draft, and it was so moving, really, really moving, and I was very excited.
Yeah, and one of the many things I love about, one of your characters, Elizabeth, is that she has this very empathetic curiosity towards what is perceived as monstrous. And we get that, especially when she first encounters the creature, for instance. And I'm curious to know what went into your preparation to play her, and when did you start to feel like you had a grasp on who this woman was and her place in the story?
So, yeah, like, you know, so I was very scared starting this movie, and I didn't know quite where to begin, and I was doing a lot of things. There was a time where I went to this church, and I was hanging out with these nuns for a while, and I was talking to them for a bit. And Guillermo would send me all of these books. It's a way that it's a way that he likes to communicate with his actors, and he did the same, I think, for Oscar and Jacob. So I was reading those books and watching these documentaries on ants, and just trying to find a way in, and nothing was really clicking, and nothing was quite working, and I found that to be quite frustrating and ultimately quite scary. And then I landed in Toronto, and we started the costume fittings with Kate Hawley, and that really helped. That really helped. And usually I feel like I find my characters from the inside out first, but I think this time around it was from the outside in. Once I saw visually where it was headed, I was able to then kind of place Elizabeth where I thought she needed to be. And the costumes are so grand, you know, and I thought it would be, so she probably needs to be a little quieter, and there's something, there's a subtlety to her, you know, but I never felt like I had her at all times. She was like smoke. I would have her for a moment in a scene, and then she was off again, and I would try to get calm, and I would even meditate for a little bit, and I found that the closest I could get to her was that calm when you open your eyes after like meditating for a couple of minutes, and that's where she existed. There's just there's a peace and something quite wise to her.
Yeah, I love what you said about how it's sort of felt like smoke, because in a way, your presence in the film, in those two, in Elizabeth and the other character, it's sort of like she's got this very powerful presence that even when she's not on screen, you can feel her impact, particularly with how she's a fixation for both Victor and the creature. And you also share incredible chemistry with Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi. Could you speak to the experience of working with them and what you learned from them as performers on this project?
Yeah, so Oscar, is a really singular actor. I've been a fan of his work for a long time. Very excited to work with him. But he was essentially playing an island, and it was difficult to connect with him. But that's precisely what the role was. So it was exactly what we needed. And then occasionally he would build a bridge to me, and we connected, and I was grateful for that. But he was, he was kind of on his own a lot. And that would frustrate me at times, but ultimately I came to see that that was exactly what we needed, and that is the dynamic between Elizabeth and Victor. And with Jacob, I think that, there's something... Jacob's incredibly kind. He's got a really big heart, and that's, I think, at the core of who his creature became. Yeah. And even with all of these prosthetics, that this goodness just kind of came out, and you couldn't cover that up. And so it made my job of defending him and protecting him and very easy. And yeah, I really enjoyed those scenes.
Yeah, in many ways, your character is the heart of the film and the story. I'm reaching the end of my time here, but I read that you had also shadowed Guillermo on your days off. And I wanted to ask, what makes Guillermo's set different from other sets that you worked on? And is there anything that you learned from him that you'll take with you into future projects?
I mean, yeah, I did shadow Guillermo. And that was a real education to see how he works with his crew, with his DP, how he, I never really considered the fact that, yes, he's directing his actors, but he's also directing his crew with the camera, and he shared with me a little bit. He's such a genius. The way he's directing the camera and how it's linked to an inhale or an exhale, and how I learned so much from him, and it was just such a joy to work with him. He's so joyful and was full of life, and very special time.
Yeah, well, Mia, I could speak to you with this film and your work all day, but I'm getting the wrap. So this was such a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat, and I'm so excited to see what you do next as well. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Nice talking to you.
You as well.